Today, using two separate operations but one united strategy, Ukraine has taken out Russian assets worth over $3 billion. First, they turned the heavily fortified Fodosia naval port in Crimea into a deadly trap by combining land, air, and naval power with advanced electronic warfare. Then they reached the edge of Moscow and struck directly at the Russian economy by blowing up a major oil pipeline. So, how much damage was really done? And how did Ukraine pull off what once seemed impossible? Let's break it down.
At 5:47 a.m., the calm over Fodosia naval harbour was shattered by a sudden Russian preemptive strike. The operation began with a combined force of Russian assets, Project 21,631 Buyan M corvettes, each worth about $60 million, and MiG-31 interceptors costing roughly $40 million apiece, launched a coordinated volley of 33 caliber cruise missiles, valued at over $1 million each, alongside heavy fire from Kashtan close-in weapon systems, burning through up to $500,000 in ammunition per engagement. Their goal was to wipe out Ukrainian forward raiding craft and neutralize any threat to Crimea's oil and naval logistics hub, cutting back Ukraine's growing reach across the Black Sea. But Ukraine's counterstrike was ready to go the second the first missile hit. The opening phase saw Su-27 jets throw up an electromagnetic shield using radar decoys to blind Russian coastal defenses. That opened the door for multiple coordinated assaults. Scalp cruise missiles slammed into high-value Russian command and control centers, while a fleet of UJ-22 drones maintained constant watch overhead. On the water, Gerda M-class boats broke through minefields by jamming their detonation systems. With paths cleared and Russian crews distracted by air decoys, Ukraine's RK-360MC Neptune systems locked in on the exposed corvettes. The plan was a chain reaction. Decoys drew radar, drones spotted weak points, cruise missiles cut command, and fast boats exploited the chaos. In less than 10 minutes, Ukraine flipped the entire battle, turning defense into a full-blown multi-domain assault. With Russia's radar network still reeling from the Neptune hits, the next phase began. Unmanned surface vessels pushed forward from under 2 miles out, slipping silently through dark water. Guided by drone data, their low jet drives barely rippled the surface as they passed through gaps in the mine belts. Each was armed with shaped charges designed not to sink, but to cripple propulsion and hulls, turning damaged ships into floating wrecks blocking the harbour. Inside the breakwater, the surviving corvettes, already battered, tried to fight back with Kashtan guns. But their tracking radars were still scrambled by Su-27 interference. Rounds splashed harmlessly as USVs closed in, striking prop shafts and hulls, setting off massive fireballs that lit up the anchorage. Russian commanders scrambled, deploying UUVs to clear emergency mines, but Ukrainian EW nodes on fast boats jammed their guidance, freezing them in place. MiG-31 air cover repositioning only added to the chaos, as UJ-22 drones threw out false radar echoes, pulling interceptors away. Explosions rolled through the harbour as fuel slicks burned and cranes collapsed. Gerda M gunboats held standoff range, guiding wave after wave of USVs. Within 15 minutes, the outer harbour was a graveyard of wrecked steel and fire, giving Ukraine control of the sea approaches. Then the air assault phase began. Su-27 squadrons, synced with long-range scout launches, targeted depots, fuel tanks and hardened bunkers. The blasts cut electricity and communications across the naval base, triggering a desperate, disorganized Russian counter. From inland, Russian batteries fired caliber missiles at suspected Ukrainian positions. At sea, crews tried to tow what was left of their ships while Kashtan systems threw up defensive fire. But Ukraine's drone and electronic warfare network controlled the fight. UJ-22 drones hopped frequencies to dodge tracking, while feeding targeting data to counterfire units. Many Russian missiles lost lock and splashed into the sea. With the counterattack neutralized, Ukrainian forces locked the harbour down completely. Gerda M boats and USVs sealed exits, Neptune systems loitered offshore, and assault teams with micro-robots cleared piers, disabling weapons and comms. Ukrainian medics treated wounded Russian sailors, showing discipline even in the middle of a brutal strike. Scalp missiles finished the job, hitting fuel depots, rail lines, and submarine pens. The secondary explosions cut off Russian Black Sea supply lines for weeks. As dawn came, Ukrainian flags flew over command towers, engineers already assessing the wreckage. But the story didn't end in Crimea. Earlier that same night, another high-stakes mission was underway deep inside Russia, aimed at its economic lifeline. At 2:17 a.m., around 70 miles south of Moscow, thick fog covered a vital stretch of the Tula-Moscow oil pipeline, a strategic asset worth over $3 billion. 6 Ka-52 Alligator helicopters broke through the mist, firing S-8 rockets at what they thought was a Ukrainian recon team. They hit decoys. This was the opening act of a calculated operation to sever a major fuel artery feeding Russia's western front. And it began not with a strike, but a deception. At 3:05 a.m., Muchin 5 decoy drones, simple plywood frames with loud rotors, lifted over the Tula corridor. They were built to be obvious, easy radar targets. As expected, Pantsir S-1 units locked onto the decoys, while the real attack moved quietly below. Through 6 miles of access channels, small Ukrainian mining robots crept in and planted directional charges and smart mines at pipeline junctions. Meanwhile, Vilka M launchers with robotic support units slid into pre-plotted positions in the forest. By 4:10 a.m., as the fog thinned, T-84 tanks and BTR-4E carriers rolled toward Checkpoint 22, a fortified Russian outpost. It was a feint. As defenders focused on the tanks, light motorcycle infantry swung around through abandoned sites, breaching a hidden logistics depot by 4:40 a.m. and planting thermite charges that severed local resupply. At 5:02 a.m., Russia responded with a BM-30 Smerch rocket barrage and Lancet-3 loitering munitions, turning the area into chaos. But Ukraine held its ground, securing the corridor. Then, at 5:45 a.m., the battle moved to the sky. 2 MiG-29 fighters raced low and loud to draw S-400 fire and Nebo-M radar. Meanwhile, Su-30 fighters hugged the terrain, slipped in unseen, and used Kh-31P anti-radiation missiles to destroy radar arrays. S-400 units launched 9 M96 interceptors, but a BUKM-1EW vehicle flooded the area with spoofing noise. A MiG-29 decoy dove below the radar, causing interceptors to miss, opening a brief but critical air defense gap. Through that gap, a wave of FPV drones flew straight at the pipeline. At 6:02 a.m., a disguised panel van miles away launched 2 Reaper fiber optic drones. The first drew fire at a secondary depot. 30 seconds later, the second drone, tethered to a fiber line, flew in low. At 6:07 a.m., it reached a pressure junction and detonated a 2-pound-shaped charge dead center. Fuel vaporized and erupted in a 300-foot fireball that lit the sky, ripping through 600 feet of pipeline. By 6:35 a.m., elements of the 76th VDV Brigade moved to secure the breach, but a pre-planted mine blew their bridge, trapping them between the blaze and Ukrainian lines. Suicide drones and mortar fire boxed them in while their comms were jammed. Ukraine didn't push further. They held the perimeter, signaling the ground was off limits. By 7:20 a.m., with the VDV pinned and the fire still raging, Ukrainian forces withdrew in good order, leaving delayed mines behind. Ukrainian medics treated wounded Russian troops before vanishing back into the fog. High above, a NATO reconnaissance drone confirmed mission success. The pipeline, a $3 billion artery, was severed. Fuel shortages hit Russian armoured units and supply convoys within hours. This was a masterclass in modern, long-range, asymmetric warfare, blending deception, multi-domain coordination, precision strikes, and tight discipline into one devastating blow.